Charon was a group of developers who used to make horror RPG Maker games between 2013 and 2018. Out of the 11 RPGs they have released, they are mostly known because of 3. Mikoto Nikki, The Dark Side of Red Riding Hood, and Yadarella, all released in 2013. Mikoto Nikki follows Mataro, a high school boy who just confessed his feeling for his senpai Mikoto. Turns out she likes him too and even invites him over to her house. While she's making dinner, Mataro wanders around her house and ends up finding pieces of her diary. That's when he slowly realizes that Mikoto isn't what she appears to be. The game also got a sequel of sorts in 2017 called Furubuko Yochen. The Dark Side of Red Riding Hood is basically a retelling of the famous fairy tale. A little girl wearing a red hood is sent by her mother to go visit her sick grandmother in the woods. However, no matter what you do on your way to her home, there will be no happy endings. Some have said bad endings can even be a little graphic with what happens in them, so be warned if you want to try it. Yanderella, on the other hand, follows a trio of childhood friends who reunite after some time being apart. There's Yataro, our protagonist, Hinata, a cute and shy girl, and Honoka, who is more brash and tomboyish. I mean, you saw the title of the game, I think we all know where this is going. Eventually you'll be forced to pick one of the girls, and the other will snap. As of now, Karen doesn't make Indie RPG Maker games anymore, instead focusing on making visual novels. Created by Team Ari in 2015, we follow Mario, who goes to investigate a mansion that has been abandoned for over a century close to the border of the Mushroom Kingdom. Inside, he finds a music box that starts playing by itself. Wondering what its purpose is, Mario decides to take it with him, but soon after he notices a message written in blood on the wall urging him to find the exit, with the front door being now gone. Now trapped, Mario needs to escape before the house eats him alive. Honestly, you can really feel that a lot of passion and soul went into this game. In 2016, there was a sequel called Mario and the Music Box RC that was released, which takes place after one of the main game's endings. Created by Lydia in 2020, Midnight Train follows Luna, a young mute girl. While she's traveling in a train, she notices that people start to suddenly disappear around her. When said train stops at a mysterious station, she finds a pocket watch and instructions. She will need to find the next train before time runs out, or she will be stuck in this world forever. With the help of Neil, a young wannabe detective in the same situation as her, Luna will explore multiple buildings to discover the secrets of the train. The game is episodic with 4 episodes in total, and even though it has horror elements, it's mostly a mystery where you meet other characters and try to find out what's going on. Honestly, I think this one is a gem that you should try out. I didn't know if I should have added this game to the iceberg, since it wasn't really made with RPG Maker but with Unity, but it still has the vibe of an Indie RPG Maker game, so
fuck it!
Created by Spacelight Studios in 2017, the game follows Kyo, a high school student who is enjoying the last days of her summer vacation before school starts. Suddenly, a violent earthquake knocks her unconscious, and when she wakes up, she is in another world filled with monsters, and will have to fight them off to survive. The game is pretty brutal, with the game over screens being quite graphic and detailed, which could make you very uncomfortable. The first time I saw pictures of Kyo's adventure, it kind of reminded me of that one horror game where you also play as a high school girl stuck in a hellish place, and that also dies in many graphic ways. Actually, no, that game is way worse than Kyo's adventure. If the idea of seeing young girls suffer through a lot of physical torment is not your thing, you should really stay away from this one. Created by Segawa in 2016, Enroll starts with the protagonist Russell taking part in an experiment. In his room, there's a bed, a pre-recorded video, and a syringe. After injecting himself with the content of said syringe, a medicine called Happy Dream, he wakes up in a world where he'll go on what only can be described as a depressing self-discovering journey. I am not joking when I say this game is depressing. Some could even say that it's emotionally draining. Though if you can't handle its negative outlook and you're ready to feel sad, well, go ahead and give it a try, but if you're not feeling so good mentally right now, you should probably avoid playing it. Created in 2018 by Kanawa, Noelle the Mortal Fates follow the story of Noelle, a young pianist who lost her limbs in a contract with the great devil Charon. Why did she make a deal with said devil? Well, to get revenge on one man, the mayor of Laplace, who is dubbed the Prize of the Citizen. But why this quest of revenge against a man who brought peace to a city once overrun by the mafia? And where would this quest of revenge lead her? The game is episodic, with 9 episodes available and episode 10 through 11 still being translated into English. If I could describe this game, it's pretty much a revenge melodrama that focuses on its characters, like the development between Noel and Charon, that go from enemies to potential allies. The game also has a manga adaptation that started publication in 2017. So if you're looking for a good revenge story, Noel the Moral Fate is for you. Created by Yume no Kisetsu in 2011, the game follows Mikoto Himeno, who one night gets a call from her friend Yuka Kajiro. When Mikoto arrives at her house, she starts to investigate a series of paranormal events that link their two families. The game has 4 levels in total, each inspired by a Japanese urban legend like One Man Hide and Seek and the No Mask. But even if it's interesting to learn more about these legends, the game is mostly composed of chase sequences. A monster starts chasing you, you hide, then it goes away, you leave your hiding spot, then rinse and repeat. Only during the final chapters you'll learn about another way to defend yourself, so it can get pretty repetitive. The game has 2 sequels, which released in 2015 and 2019, while the original was remade in 2016 as Paranormal Syndrome R Dolls Edition. Created in 2015 by Laborite Studios, this is another gem in the Indie RPG Maker fandom that should be more known in my opinion. The game follows Elizabeth Faust, who inherits an antiquated house from her deceased father. After entering it, she finds a black cat, and after following it to a basement, meets a purple demon named Mephistopheles. Treating her like they're old friends, he tells her, "I'll show you the way out, if you really want to leave. But if at any moment you wax nostalgic about your time here, or wish to preserve any instant for eternity, you lose." Candlestick in hand, Elizabeth journeys into a crayon-drawn world to escape this nightmare. From the name alone, you can tell this game is inspired by Goethe's Faust, which can give you some hints about what will happen in it. But the one thing that really makes this game stand out, in my opinion, is its beautiful art style that kinda reminds me of Tim Burton's. If you want a game with a gothic atmosphere, Faust Albtraum would be perfect for you. Released in 2013 by Bariki Clock, the game follows the story of Michel Lambert, a 12-year-old prodigy violinist who ran away from home. He winds up in a mansion that is under a terrible curse. There he meets Chloe, a strange young girl who begs him for help. Since he is unable to leave and isn't really interested in going back to his old home, Michel accepts. But if he wants to succeed, he'll have to not only deal with the skeletons in his closet, but Chloe's as well. Something cool about this game is that it has some sort of a sanity meter. It decreases every time Michel witnesses something traumatic and gets restored when interacting with Chloe. Also, the game got a light novel adaptation in 2014. Released in 2017 by Laura Shigihara, the game follows the story of a mother and her young son who is laid up in a hospital ward. To escape his current circumstances, he decides to investigate the trouble of the other patients, both kids and adults. Over time, he finds an entrance to a fantasy world which is intimately linked to the real world, and travels through it with his mother. So yeah, the concept of the game is pretty much talk to a patient in the real world, go to the fantasy world, find a counterpart character there, and help them solve their problem. A simple premise, but sometimes simple is better. If emotional games like To the Moon, but with a cute twist, are what you like, Rakuen would be for you. Released in 2017 by the same creator as Enroll. Oh no. But this one will not scar you emotionally, I think. The game follows Piccola, a boy full of curiosity that just moved into a new home in Fairweather City. His dream is to open a general store to provide people the things they want. He stole the property up for sale for pretty cheap that would be perfect for said store, and he begins to prepare to fulfill his dream. Oh, if only he could ignore these ominous dreams he's having. Oh, also the reason why the property is being sold for so cheap is because it's supposedly haunted. The game may look innocent, but it is tagged as a horror game that talks about some heavy topics, so be warned. But I mean, it's from the same creator as Enroll, so what did you expect? Released in 2018 by Casey Ozumi, the game follows an 8-year-old boy named Jimmy and the adventures he has in his dreams. When a fleshy alien entity threatens the stability of the dream world and kidnaps his family, Jimmy sets out to save them and eradicate this pulsating mass. Along the way, he'll have to face his own shortcomings and brave the nightmare of his own subconscious. The game was heavily inspired by games like Final Fantasy V, Yume, Nikki, and especially Earthbound. So if you're interested in an adult story told from the perspective of a child, taking place in the real world, well, give this one a try. 8.11 is a soon-to-be fully released game by Dubuque, with the demo being available on itch.io. It follows a priest called Riker Dublin, who wanders France with his best friend Leon. One night they take shelter from a storm into an abandoned church, when suddenly Leon is brutally murdered. Against the last wishes of his best friend, Riker sets out to a land called Rosso Cadere to track down the killer, struggling with his fate and whether or not he should go through with his bloody revenge along the way. The game has an eerie atmosphere as you meet a variety of strange characters and watch reality distort around you. I'm quite curious to see what the final game will look like. Oh look, another weird game that is hard to explain. Released in 2012 by My Former Selves, Midens is described as a surreal exploration game. You play as a figure only known as the Nomad, who fled his own dimension after his culture died via assimilation. Accompanied by a talking revolver, you traverse the Rift on a mission to purify it. Maybe the Nomad would get along with the batter from off pretty well. Of the many denizens you'll meet, some will be dangerous, others harmless. But it will be your choice to either engage with them or spare their lives. If you like games similar to Helix and Space Funerals, Midens could pique your curiosity. Released in 2012 by Bleed, Flesh Child is another Yume Nikki fan game. In it, you take control of a flesh child, who has been tasked by Viscereth, the flesh mother, to become human. The first organ you'll get is a brain. Then the rest of the game consists on finding other body parts to please the flesh mother, in the same way as finding effects in other Yume Nikki fan games. Unfortunately, Bleed has stopped development of the game as of 2018, leaving us with only a small part of the game to play. Yeah, I know, it sucks, and I'm still sad about it. Released in 2017 by Godiga, the game follows Nappa, a girl who's been haunted by nightmares ever since she was a child. One day she decides to step into an abandoned schoolhouse that she keeps seeing in her dreams to hopefully find answers. Unfortunately, there is something there that has the intention of dragging her into the past, with no intention of ever letting her go. A prequel called Last Week Another Incident was released, taking place 10 years before the events of the main game, but has yet to be translated into English. Created by Kona 5 in 2012, Akemi-tan had a reputation back in the day of being one of the scariest Indie RPG Maker games. Does it deserve its reputation? Well, kinda. Maybe. Look, I'm sorry, I never found Akemi-tan scary. It takes place in a village that is protected by a spirit called the O. In exchange for its protection, the villagers give it offerings like food. One day, it was Shimoko Shimoda's turn to go for the goods. But suffering for what's called horror protagonist logic, she does the dumbest thing and decides to take a bite out of the apples that she was offering because she was hungry. Because yeah, why wouldn't you want to piss off the spirit that is responsible for your whole village being safe? Soon after coming back home, she notices that strange things started happening with monsters appearing everywhere. Now Shimoko must survive and find a way to fix her mistake. The game mostly relies on jump scares to scare you, but there are some pretty effective scares in there. A pretty decent game, but not the scariest Indie RPG Maker game out there. Originally released in 2001 by Yoshitaka Nishida, the game follows a psychiatrist called Cyanos B. Cyan, who is requested to console a girl. Her name is BD, and she lost her eyesight and memory in an accident. He reluctantly takes her under his care, and through conversations with her over the phone, he will learn more about the past that hides in her memories. The game won the grand prize in the 4th ASCII Entertainment Software Contest, and later received a re-release on the PlayStation 1 called Forget Me Not Palette, but it has yet to be translated into English. Released in 2013 by the same creator as Maidens, Gingiva is actually its spiritual successor and takes place in the same universe. In it, an amoeboid landscape threatens to engulf civilization and all its plastic bottles. Disembodied mouse lives in the walls of buildings like household pets, and packs of human-headed dogs rove the land between formless space and concrete reality. It's the same creator as Maidens. Though this one feels more like a fever dream I would have at 4 AM. But who knows, maybe you'll like it. Released in 2010 by Perun, the game follows a young boy named Shunsuke who goes to stay at his grandmother's home. Upon coming back, he notices that his hometown has changed into a town where death reigns supreme. Meeting with his surviving friends and other children around their age, the little group will have to try to survive in the cruel reality awaiting them. The game talks about some heavy topics, and if kids suffering makes you uncomfortable, you should pass this one. Although you probably already knew about this game, but not because of its story and gameplay, but because of the tragedy behind it. I'm not gonna go into details about it, but if you're curious about Weekender and its creator, there's a great video on the subject by YouTuber Hazel that goes far deeper into the subject than I ever could do in one little segment. Released by Team Meat Pie in 2021, the game follows a group of friends who investigate rumors of paranormal activity at their school after dark. By splitting up, they hope to cover more grounds and find proof. But unfortunately for the wannabe Scooby Gang, this school is not as empty as they first thought it was. You play as Harriet, and it is through her that you will discover the horrific events that unfolded in this local community. The game is actually a remaster of the original version released in 2016 by Pika Spray, and was inspired by titles like Aoni and Clock Tower. Also, it's recommended to go into the game blind by its creator, so I won't say much about it, just in case you want to give it a try. Released in 2017 by Vine, Tramarai follows a little boy named Noel who one day wanders into the woods. Crossing a desolate stone bridge over a river of blood, he finds himself lost in a strange world. While exploring, he'll have to gather the memories of the people who reside here, or else their heart will shatter. As of now, 4 chapters are available on itch.io, since it's still technically in development. And there's also a series of novel adaptations that are also planned by the creator. Released in 2015 by Jurio and Jetpack Gone, the story of Stray Cat Crossing goes as follows. You find yourself in a roadside clearing where you encounter a young girl named Cat. While helping her find her way back home, you'll encounter bizarre monsters, ethereal places, and heart-wrenching secrets about Cat and her family. The game pulled a lot of inspirations from stories like Alice in Wonderland and movies like Spirited Away, Pan's Labyrinth, and even Nightmare Before Christmas. So if you're a fan of these universes, you may like this game. Released in 2013 by Maroon Raccoon, Pen Pal is about you trying to find your mom in the towns of Understanding and Onion Town. On your quest, you will be accompanied by your abusive friend, Pal. Oh, and also they're a ghost. The game is really short, so if you want a game to cure your boredom, similarly to Lait, this one could do the trick. Well, looks like we finally reached the bottom of the iceberg, where the light is nothing but a distant memory. Here lies the games that are mostly unknown to most RPG Maker fans, though some may have bigger fan bases than others. Released in 2015 by Kanawa, the game follows Michiro Usui, a young girl who is not having the best of lives. Suffering from bullying at school and from extreme pressure at home, all of this drives her one day to jump into a lake. But when she regains consciousness, she finds herself in a strange mirror world that is neither heaven nor hell. While looking inside the many shattered mirrors around her, Michiro slowly realizes the wish that led her to this place. The wish to erase herself from existence. The game is also one that talks about some heavy topics, but if similarly to games like Enroll, you're in the right mindset to play it, you'll probably enjoy it. A sequel called Blight Dream was released around 2017, where some of the characters from the main game make some small cameos, and there's also a light novel adaptation that was published in 2016. Created by Nama in 2017, the game follows Henri, a young girl who is one day dared by one of her friends to go with them to a purgatory building that is said to be inhabited by a butcher that kills anyone on sight. After being separated from the group and falling into the basement, Henri finds herself in a place covered in blood and filled with dead bodies. Her goal being now to escape this hellish place with her life. If you're a fan of gore, this one may interest you, though story-wise, the ending can be hit or miss. The game also received a sequel in 2021, with a prequel hinted to release this year, and a third opus in 2025. Released in 2014 by Skyscraper Project, the game takes place in a world called the Land of Time under the care of a warden called Tiska. We take control of Alice, a young girl who lives in this world and that suffers from memory loss. One day when the hands of the Great Clock are mysteriously scattered, the land comes to a standstill. Though it's Tiska's job to go find these hands, Alice can't help but want to be of assistance. Who knows? Maybe this quest will help her regain her memories. Did you know there was an RPG Maker game Konosuba? It was released on March 25th, 2016 and was bundled with the first Blu-ray/DVD volume of the anime in Japan. The game pretty much follows the same story beats of the anime and light novel. You take control of Kazuma, Aqua, Megumin in Darkness, you take quests, you fight monsters, you get the drill. It's Konosuba, but in RPG form. Though likely for us, the game has now been translated by UNS into English for us to play. Released in 2015 by Haneda, the game takes place in a fantasy world after the hero defeated the Dark Lord menacing it. We take control of a wounded traveler who just woke up in a clinic run out of a cave. With no memory of what happened to him, he begins to wander in search of information in this world now at peace. The only thing in his possession to guide him in his quest are a broken sword and an enchanted book. Released in 2018 by Alkane Studio and BUD Games, the game starts with your avatar waking up. Then while checking your emails, an angel appears telling you that you've been chosen by God and that you will now be sent to the time before the flood. Do you have a chance to say no? Probably not. You end up passing out, and when you regain consciousness, you're now in the body of a stranger. But not only do you wake up in the body of a stranger, but you have indeed been sent to the past, and you have now only 6 months to prepare for the incoming flood. Now the question is, what are you gonna do? Honestly, I don't really know what to say about it. If a Noah's Ark simulator is something you've always wanted to try, well, I guess this game would be for you. Created in 2015 by Maninu, the game follows Bevel, an artistic young girl who winds up in a fantasy world after entering through one of her paintings. Inside, things look magical and fantastical. Everyone even speaks a made-up language called Bevelese, and Bevel meets a girl that looks exactly like her, except that her hair is black instead of white. Though with each room she'll enter, some of her deepest memories will come back to the surface. The game has some similar vibes to even Yume Nikki, and even though it does have some creepy elements, its horror side is pretty tame. Released in 2015 by Rinedo, the game makes you take control of an underworld escort called Kirishima. He and a group of other underworld escorts are given one task. Go to an abandoned school and capture the deceased one, a vengeful spirit, to put it at peace. But it will be easier said than done. The game was also adapted into a manga that was published between 2015 and 2017. Yeah, I just discovered this one recently and I just had to put it on the iceberg. Released in 2012 by Paya, Utao no Tatari has yet to be translated into English, but with YouTubers like Goose Boost, Lazy Masquerade, and Nexpo talking about it, there's a high chance someone will pick it up and translate it. From what I could understand, the game is about a series of paranormal events and the characters trying to survive them. But honestly, the one part of this game that really sends shivers on my spine is the way it uses modified, realistic pictures as its horror material. I mean, it just works to put you on edge. The game also got a sequel, which you may be more familiar with because of a famous glitch it contains. You thought it was over? Oh no. Oh no. We can still explore further down, even deeper than what the bottom of the iceberg can reach. Somewhere where the lost souls hide and the forgotten reside. Come on, don't be shy. Let's jump to the darkness. Released by Ichiro Sogabe in 1997, the game starts by your avatar being offered a choice and then jumping in front of a train. When he wakes up, he finds himself in an otherworldly train filled with disillusioned passengers. You are offered a job to check every passenger for their tickets, however, everything is not as it seems. Since the game was originally made for the PC 98, you'll have to download an emulator to play it. Luckily, a translated version by Obscure comes packaged with said emulator, so you won't have to look too far. They even created a player's companion guide telling more about the game's history and even some cultural notes that may help understand some references, which is pretty awesome. Designer's Sin is an all-lost game that was first released around 2009 using RPG Maker 2003. The only proof of its existence is a series of posts about it from its creator, the M-Man, and some people who played it on the RPG Maker resource kit. In it, you will play as a boy who created his own RPG Maker game, but did not credit those who helped him making it. Because of this, he then gets zapped into his game to be taught a lesson. Though now the download link doesn't work anymore, and the creator has lost the game files, so the chances of us having the chance to play it are pretty low. Released in 2008 by Parun, the game follows Heart, whose goal is to take down the top 3 and get revenge on the one who betrayed him. Yeah, I know, definitely not a confusing plot, I assure you. Contrary to Weekender, Heisei Pistol Show is far more obscure. It doesn't even have a translated version available to play, although there is a Let's Play by YouTuber Ziwa with English subs. Released in 2017 by Harry Meow, Kagari Joshua, and Robux, the game follows 10-year-old Polaris who finds herself trapped in a dream world created by a mysterious young man named Almond. Inside, things may look magical, but they turn strange quickly as Polaris finds out the reason why Almond doesn't want to return to reality. The game is a mix of adventure, sci-fi, and a little sprinkle of horror on the top, so if that mix interests you, could give it a try. Released in 2013 by Housekeeping as an entry for the RPG Maker Halloween contest of the same year, the game follows Max, a colorblind student who's taking an experimental drug to cure his condition. While going on about his day, he notices that ominous black smoke started appearing and that he can now see the color red before the lights go out. After which, he finds out that most of the school is now dead. Turns out that there's an eldritch god who started to manifest itself at the school, and Max must now find a way to escape with Chase, his best friend, and Lily, a girl he has a crush on. Dark Necrophar is an obscure RPG Maker game that was never released outside of Japan, where it has a very small following. From the small info and images I managed to find, it seems like a classic RPG similar to Final Fantasy, but more on the edgy side. Since I couldn't find a download link, the game may be lost, but who knows, maybe one day someone is going to translate it, or it's going to gain more popularity. Released in 2020 by Metron, the game follows a young girl who enlists the help of a suspicious-looking man to look for her missing brother. According to this man, however, an evil god is wreaking havoc on the world, with everything on the verge of destruction. The question is, now how will this world end? The game is like a mix of the Cthulhu myth of H.P. Lovecraft, but with a cute pop anime art style. So if you want to experience the end of the world without sacrificing the cute factor, Hello Hello World would be a good choice. Released in 2018 by No, the game starts with the main character waking up in a mysterious place with both arms gone. The only thing they know is that they want to return to their mother. As of now, the game's only translation is in Spanish, so if you can speak it, you can go ahead and try it. Otherwise, I really hope someone will one day pick it up and translate it into English. Released in 2013 by Great Nvidia, the game starts with the protagonist finding herself in a desolate and endless city. Not remembering anything about herself or how she got there, she wanders around in hopes of finding a way to escape and find clues about who or even what she is. The game is loosely based on the exploration style of Yume Nikki, but with a slow burn psychological horror story, so you may need some patience while playing it. Released in 2018 by Eric Shear-Smith, the game is described as a surreal post-life adventure. You'll follow an individual who recently died and their struggle with this new reality. Their memories of life are starting to feel like distant whispers. They're unable to remember their personality, their friends, or even their family. But there is some hope to be found in those distant memories. If you want to explore the concept of death and the afterlife in a surreal world that can be fun in one moment, then go on to reflect our deepest fear, The Endless Empty may be a good game for you to try. So, there you have it. That's the end of our journey throughout the Indie RPG Maker Games Iceberg. I do hope that you've enjoyed it. We've traveled through the clearest of skies to the darkest depths. And who knows, maybe it made you discover new RPGs to try out in the future. I wish you all a good day or even a good night depending on when you watch this video. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna crawl back into my gremlin cave and get some sleep. Yeah, I have no idea how to end the video.